Hello, everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about the top 10 ERP systems for product centric industries in 2025. So let's dive right in.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent, vendor agnostic technology advisory firm. We help our clients with system selection, technology strategy, and change management. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is the top 10 ERP systems for product centric industries in 2020. Before we look at the list, I wanted to provide you the perspective of what are product centric industries. When you compare them with service centric industries, the business processes are generally very different. So the ERP systems designed for service centric industries are generally unique. They support more ad hoc processes compared to the product industries. Product industries are going to have much deeper alignment from the cost centric processes. They are going to have much deeper processes from the inventory perspective. With the service centric ERPs, you might find some inventory centric, but it's generally not as deep as what you would find with the product centric industries. So this particular list focuses on just that. And then the product centric industries are far deeper in the supply chain, from the supply chain, especially when you talk about the direct supply chain, not the indirect procurement or supply chain, which is what is going to be with the service centric. So the processes that you are going to find, the product centric systems are going to be far deeper with the direct procurements and processes, etc. The criteria we have used to compile this list: product share, acquisition strategy, focused on the product centric industries, product roadmap, community, ecosystem, win rate, technology strategy, as well as the investors. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Odoo. And Odoo is a great choice for multinational product centric startups. For the most part, the kind of processes that Odoo has, it's designed for ease of use for the smaller companies. It is not going to support as advanced transactions as well as layers that you are going to find with the other systems on this list. Some strengths to keep in mind is this is very easy for companies outgrowing QuickBooks, especially if you are very limited on your implementation budget. And if this is your first ERP system, then Odoo could be a great fit. Ecosystem as well as development help is much cheaper in general. When you look at the Odoo consultants, they are not going to be paid as much as the other advanced ERP systems. So that reduces your cost overall. Just because Odoo is simpler to learn and use, that's why the consulting cost is generally lower. And it is ideal for diverse, product-centric industries, just because the process model or the data model that they have is fairly generalized in general. So those are some of these strengths. Some limitations to keep in mind is the capabilities are not as mature as compared to their larger peers. They are open source, so there are some benefits of open source, but for the most part, when you look at this more from the legal liability perspective, you are not going to have that control that you are going to find with the other vendors that are not going to be open source. So again, there are pros and cons of the open source aspect. Technical people, the IT people, they like it just because they have control over the code, but generally that fires back because of the complexity of the ERP processes as well as system. In general, you don't want to customize. So that could be a little negative there. And then you would require a lot more business consulting help in general to avoid over engineering if you want to be successful with Odoo. So that's number 10. Now, number 9 on our list is Epicor Profit 21. And Epicor Profit 21 really well in the industrial distribution basis. They are going to have the last mile integrations as well as the processes that are going to support the needs of the industrial distributors. And even inside the distribution verticals, the kind of integrations that you are going to need or the processes you are going to need, they could be very different. So this is great for the industrial distributors. Some strengths to keep in mind is it is designed for the prescriptive architecture. So if you get everything from Epicor's perspective and you don't want the other integrations outside of Epicor, then this is a great fit if you can replace everything. But if you are going to bring all of that, sometimes that could be very expensive from the consulting effort perspective in integrating all of those channels as well as systems. So that could be a little negative there. Some other limitations to keep in mind is the process as well as data model is not going to be as diverse to be able to support other business models. The technology is slightly legacy, even though it has a cloud version, but the technology is not as modern as the other cloud native systems. And ecosystem is very limited as well, just because it's a very tight knit community. It does not have as many consulting companies or consultants practicing in that, so that could be a little negative. And that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is Acumatica. And Acumatica is a great choice for diverse product-centric companies, anywhere from 10 million to roughly 100 million in revenue. Acumatica does really well in those spaces because, again, the process model that they have is not as complex as some of the global products where they have a lot more global capabilities. So Acumatica, the target base that Acumatica has, it is targeting companies in the US, Canada, some of the developed countries. So they don't have as deep global trade compliance capabilities, etc. Their target market is not necessarily the larger global companies with a lot of entities. So it's slightly simpler, but they also have another benefit as part of their product because they can support many different business models. So whether you are going to have B2B, B2C products, they can support all of those processes as part of their product. It's not going to be hosted in a completely separate database inside the product itself. Sometimes there could be issues with respect to the communication in those instances. So that's a huge plus. Now, some other strengths to keep in mind is they have flexible pricing options as well as their UI is cloud native. So those are some of the positives. Some negatives to keep in mind is their global capabilities are not as robust. So if you are looking to consolidate and looking for synergies across those global entities, Acumatica may not be the best fit. The mobile reporting capabilities, even though they are there, they might not be as comprehensive as you are going to find with some of the other richer manufacturing solutions. Even though the technology is cloud native, but the advanced transactions may not be supported with the mobile capability. So again, do your due diligence, map out your requirements, and understand whether your needs are going to be supported or not. And then you might require a lot of add-ons in general for the regulated as well as complex manufacturing spaces. Even though it has manufacturing capabilities, they are not as strong compared to other manufacturing focused systems. So that's a little negative, and that's number 8. Number 7 on our list is Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. And Business Central system is going to be for slightly more global, product-centric companies that require global compliance, finance-centric capabilities, and they are looking to consolidate all of these entities in one system. Sometimes it is also useful for private equity or holding companies where they are trying to promote or use just one system, one skill set across their entities. So the spin-off as well as the consolidation inside their entity is going to be much easier. So in those scenarios, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central is a great fit. Some strengths to keep in mind is rich distribution ERP system capabilities that are natively supported. And in some cases, for example, let's say if you look at pharma-centric product companies, for those, the kind of alignment that you are going to require from the product model perspective for the serial number, lot number, a lot of ERP systems cannot support. So Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central has some of the native capabilities to be able to support not only that, but the other product-centric companies. The architecture is very cloud native. So those are some of the strengths. Some limitations to keep in mind is limited capabilities to support diverse product-centric companies, especially when you look at the last mile integration as well as the last mile capabilities. Yes, their ecosystem is very strong, but then you are relying on third-party vendors to be able to provide those capabilities. And sometimes they are poorly coded, not as well supported, and there could be issues because of that. That's going to be a little negative there. So that's number 7. Number 6 on our list is NetSuite. And NetSuite is again very global finance-centric system. The operational capabilities that you are going to have are not going to be as mature, as rich compared to the other systems. The strengths to keep in mind from the NetSuite perspective is it does really well in the B2C centric companies, the kind of integrations they have, the kind of vendors they are collaborating in their spaces. For B2C centric companies, NetSuite does really well. NetSuite also has a larger penetration in among service-centric companies. So if you are going to have a business model where you have, service-centric business model plus your product-centric business model, for that NetSuite would be a great fit. The global capabilities overall from the finance compliance perspective, and you are looking for consolidation of these entities, or you are trying to use just one platform across your private equity centric portfolio, NetSuite could be a great fit. Some other limitations to keep in mind is they have limited B2B capabilities. So the kind of data model that they have or the processes for the B2B distribution, industrial distribution, manufacturing companies, you would require much thicker add-on compared to what is going to be supported out of the box with NetSuite. Limited capabilities for diverse distributors and not designed for very large companies. The kind of organizational structure you are going to have inside NetSuite, if you are going to have a lot of entities, NetSuite struggles with that. So those are some of the limitations, and that's number 6. Number 5 on our list is Oracle Cloud ERP. And Oracle Cloud ERP is the enterprise grade system, just like your SAP S/4HANA. It does really well for those global product centric companies where they are looking to consolidate a lot of entities, but they are going to have a lot more entities compared to what NetSuite or Business Central may be able to support, just because it's going to have a lot more financial hierarchies, the operational hierarchies as part of their process model. So it's designed for those larger companies. Overall, Oracle Cloud ERP is not as well adopted among product-centric companies, even though they have very deep capabilities from the supply chain perspective. When you look at their WMS, TMS capabilities, they are bundled as part of the ERP. They have supply chain component as well, as part of their suite. But again, they are not as well penetrated among product-centric companies compared to the other systems that we have on this list. And they are very well proven for the larger workloads, and that's a huge plus to make sure that the transaction volume that you are going to have, the amount of general entries that you are going to have, whether a system can support that or not. So this is a huge plus for Oracle Cloud ERP, and their ecosystem. Even though their ecosystem is big, but it might not be as big as some other vendors that we have on this list. Limitations to keep in mind is The last mile capabilities are limited and not necessarily product-centric solution. Even though, again, they have product-centric capabilities, they have been adopted by a lot of product-centric companies, but the scope of ERP among those product-centric companies may be limited. So in those installations, so again, when you are going to do any sort of reference checks or you are reviewing the implementation, it's always good to ask these questions. How is the ERP used in your company? If that is used only as at the GL level or the general ledger level, then that's not necessarily the complete scope as what other companies may be using for doing the consolidated MRP planning, consolidated product planning, etc., as part of the same workload. So these two are very different scenarios, and that's where you need to do much deeper due diligence in asking, okay, whether they have been successful in your micro industries or not. And then again, this is not necessarily a SMB solution, so that's going to be a little negative, and that's number 5. Number 4 on our list is Apicore Kinetic. And Apicore Kinetic does really well in those industrial manufacturing centric verticals, industrial some manufacturers that are going to have very deep penetration from the distribution perspective as well. So some strengths to keep in mind is the perspective is very different for Apicore Kinetic. It's designed for very regulated industries where you are going to have formal manufacturing processes where they have to mandate the revision number as part of their BOM. That's where Apicore Kinetic really shines. But that could be a little negative as well if your manufacturing processes might not be as formalized. And then the complex inventory needs, for example, let's say if you are going to be in verticals such as your metal, etc., where the inventory is very complex, they use the inventory attributes not only as part of their analytics but also as part of the planning, and sometimes they need capabilities such as supporting the parts without a part number. Those capabilities are available as part of Apicore Kinetic. So in some industries, Apicore Kinetic does really well. And then it's also have the Microsoft look and feel. So companies migrating from Microsoft centric products will find it easier to be able to adopt Apicore Kinetic. Some limitations to keep in mind is it can support global financial operations, but the number of layers that you have, they are not as detailed as what you are going to find with the enterprise-centric platforms. The global trade capabilities are going to be limited as well. And then the architecture that they follow from the quality and field service perspective is slightly different as well. It's designed for MES-centric workloads. In some industries, that is very common. But when you are looking at consolidated, quality, when you have to combine your inbound, outbound, in process, all of those workloads as part of the same process, that architecture may not be as well represented with Apicore Kinetic. And their ecosystem as well as marketplace is not as built out as strong as with the other platforms. So that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Infor Cloud Suite LN M3. And Infor Cloud Suite LN M3 does really well with manufacturers, very large manufacturers that are going to require the global capabilities, global trade compliance capabilities. So some of these strengths for Infor Cloud Suite LN M3 is, for the global operations, when you need that consolidated MRP-centric planning, that's where Infor Cloud Suite LN M3, they might be far more proven. Overall, these two are completely different products targeted for very different industries. And Infor Cloud Suite LN does really well in the discrete centric spaces, which is going to be your automotive, aerospace, etc. M3 does really well in retail centric spaces. So that is something to keep in mind when you are looking at these cloud suite as well as the product types. The last mile capabilities that you have from the Infor Cloud Suite perspective are very strong. They are very well integrated with the entire suite that you are going to require for your industry. Some other limitations to keep in mind is It might not be as diverse overall in supporting different business models, especially when you are looking for slightly more generalized ERP. This might not be the best fit. The UI as well as the experience may not be as modern compared to the other systems we have on this list. Their ecosystem and marketplace, it's not as strong, just as with any prescriptive centric systems. So that's number three. Number two on our list is SAP S/4HANA. SAP S/4HANA is great fit for large global enterprises, that are operating globally. The corporate structure that SAP S/4HANA is going to have is very detailed in general to be able to support any number of entities. It's probably the most proven system out there, for the global workloads among Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. When you are going to require that kind of workload, then SAP S/4HANA going to be the best fit. Some other strengths to keep in mind: the overall financial traceability, the product traceability and control. It's built as part of the product, so the product looks really good in terms of the debugging traceability of these financial transactions. That is not as well built with the other platforms. Some limitations to keep in mind is when you look at the deeper operational capabilities, they might not be as well built, with SAP S/4HANA, and that's where you are going to probably require a lot of add-ons to be able to augment those capabilities, and that's where you need to do a little bit due diligence how well those add-ons are built. But for the most part, that is going to be the limitation. And then again, it's not necessarily designed for smaller organizations because the implementation is probably going to be complex just because these many add-ons, the number of layers that you are going to have, that is going to be in general challenging for companies that are not going to have the IT maturity internally. So that's number two. Number one on our list is Microsoft Dynamics 365 FNO. And FNO is a great system for those upper mid market as well as the enterprise centric companies. The FNO product has come a long way in general, overall, in terms of its adoption and penetration. Now it's used by very, very, very large companies. It is probably one of the richest in terms of its operational capabilities in the cloud. It has cloud native architecture. So those are some of the pluses. Some limitations to keep in mind is the financial traceability and audit support. The kind of processes that you are going to find with SAP S/4HANA, they are not as well built or as friendly for the finance folks, especially the way they like to look at things. This might be a slightly different perspective. But again, if you come from very Microsoft world, for you it might be easier. So depending upon what your background is and what your team's background is, you need to look at that as well, because that might increase the training time, the adoption time for these systems, and it might be overwhelming for smaller organizations. So those are some of the negatives, and that's number one. If you enjoyed this video, we are going to include a detailed report which is going to have much deeper analysis, so you might want to check that. This podcast is also available in the audio form on major podcasting platforms, so you might want to check that. We publish these videos on a weekly basis, so if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that below. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.